Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective.
Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Realizing I forgot to put together the show plan for the display on the channel here. It's not an involved process, but I create the show plan. What day is today? Today's the 4th. Is this what we got? Oh boy, when did I just upload this sucker? Oh man, that's not right. That's not right, folks. We're struggling here. We're struggling. I'll get it set. I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Basically, I have to create the file, and when I create the file, I then have to upload it as a PDF to the system, which is not onerous by any means, but something to think about. Let's see if it pops up here now. There we go. We're good to go. All right. Sorry for the delay there. Usually I do that beforehand, but today I was not very smart. So anyway, welcome to the show. You can find the show Monday through Friday on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on the website, fantasyguru.com. You can find us on your podcast network. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily. Many ways to follow the show. 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have a guest about half an hour in. We'll do that again today. And the first half hour is usually me rambling on for 4 days of the week, and then Justin Fensterman on Wednesdays rambles for about a half hour before he visits with Rich Mileto. The Elite Sports Show is back. Jeff Mans is back this week, so you probably caught him yesterday. Excuse me. Caught him yesterday. So back at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'll actually be on later tonight on SiriusXM. We've got another draft, Tout Wars 15-team mixed league. I'm in the alternative league. We talked about this last week. You can find the write-up over at FG. That league is on-base percentage instead of batting average, innings pitched instead of victories, solds instead of saves. Tonight I'll be hosting on SiriusXM at 5 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. No, 5 to 9 Pacific Time. 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when the draft starts. That draft will be hosted for 4 hours. I'll be on for 3. That's just a straight 5x5 15-team mixed league. So if you're interested in that, check it out there. Here is what I was creating as we were opening up the show. Yes, the show plan for today. Remember that, folks. If you're watching us live, you can ask questions and leave comments on youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, on facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and on Twitter X @FantasyGuru site. Any of those 3 places, you can leave comments, questions, concerns, and we can address them throughout the show. You can obviously watch the show at any point, live or on demand at any of those 3 places. And again, you can go to FantasyGuru.com, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. You can have access to all the podcasts there on the show. And you can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily to wherever you get your podcasts, and you should be able to find this as well. On the show today, before we visit with Armando and Marsal in about 25 or 30 minutes to talk some football, we'll talk some baseball. Lots of guys to talk about on the offensive side and the pitching side of things. A little bit heavier on pitching today. So we'll talk about, some spotty names there you see on offense. Corbin, Carroll, Gunnar, Henderson are the big ones. The rest of the guys kind of, but maybe have roles to start the season. On the pitching side of things, Free, Burns, Senga, deGrom, Luis Heel. Oof, that's a rough one. Jason Foley and Felix Bautista in the bullpen. And again, about 25 or 30 minutes, we'll talk with Armando and Marsal. What were his takeaways from the combine, if any? Talk to him. We haven't really broken it down here on the show yet. I know Jeff Mans has on Elite Sports and over on his TikTok account, but we'll break down the Deebo Samuel, the Commanders move. We'll talk about what the Niners are going to do with Brandon Aiyuk and the receiving core. Trey Benson, he's going to be a 1B to James Conner this year. We'll talk about that. Breece Hall, Sam Darnold, where's he end up? A lot of intrigue about that coming down today. Aaron Jones, Jakobi Meyers, on and on and on. So we'll do that as well. Go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. When you do that, you get access to all the products. Just choose what you want. Got the baseball product available, the football product available, the MVP product available, which is everything but football and baseball. Right now, we're rocking and rolling, continuing to put out articles on a daily basis over at fantasyguru.com for the seasonal baseball package. We also have the DFS baseball package and the wagering baseball package available, though, of course, those don't start up for a couple of weeks. But they're available right now. If you want to get 2 of them or all 3 of them, you can do that as well. You can always send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com, and we'll get you hooked up over at FG. The first of 3 articles out today, before we get to the news and notes. Jeff Mans does the Manifesto in football, where he says, this is the perfect draft, round by round, here are your options, all that kind of thing. I kind of do the same thing. I started doing it last year. I do it in a different way than Jeff does. His is much more involved, like really, because it's thousands of words. Mine are more tight, and which I think a lot of people appreciate the shortness of it. Maybe I'm wrong, and I should write longer articles. But there's basically 3 articles because I see there being 3 ways to build a pitching staff. 1, you take pitching early. 1, you take pitching in the middle, and 1, you take pitching late. So there's 3 main ways to do it. Today, the early pitching article is up. At the website, again, there'll be one each of the next 2 days because starting today, early pitching, middle pitching, late pitching. I know that there are people that believe in pocket aces. I know that there are people such as myself that kind of go mid-level in terms of diving into the pitching pool. I know there's people on the other side like Jeff Mans that like to go really late. So what does your team look like? We'll look at ADP, and I'll assume we're in a 12-team league and you have 6 picks. So you're right in the middle of that round. And if you wanted to put a team together that way, what would you do? In this example, we have Kyle Tucker as our first-round player, round 2, Zach Wheeler, round 3, Lowe and Gilbert. Because again, we're talking about building pitching early. How did that team turn out? How did the other teams turn out with a different plan? Check those out in the coming days over at fantasyguru.com. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some bats here. Brandon Lowe is somebody that, we've seen, we've been there, we've done that. And, right, that's kind of the thought process. He's got power, but he's hurt a lot. Home ballpark doesn't help him. He's kind of just a guy, whatever. Well, now he has the power still. The health piece is there. I mean, there's no way that we consider and say, oh, he's totally fine physically, because that's something that he has not proven capable of doing. So I can move the speaker out of the way a little bit. It's kind of really in the middle of it today. Sorry about that. Yeah, I have a big arm that I swing out, by the way, so it's always in a different place on a daily basis. Anyway, Brandon Lowe, Lowe, but it's pronounced Lowe. The second baseman for the Rays has the ability to hit home runs. He's almost hit 40 home runs one year. He does have the health concerns. He's not a batting average helper at all. He's hoping just to be league average there. But he does have one significant advantage, and it's something we've hit on a lot this spring. Athletics, getting rid of all the foul ground over in Oakland, and the move to Sacramento has got to help the hitters. The move from indoors in Florida to outdoors in Florida at Steinbrenner Field is a boost for the offensive outlook of the Rays as well. And, if there was ever a season where you could look at Lowe and say, look, there's a legitimate 30 home run season incoming here, it's this season. Now, does he have 258 at-bats, or is it 515 at-bats? That's who knows. But if he were to get 500 plate appearances, I think he could hit 30 home runs this year. I think that's not even really going on that much of a limb. I think a lot of people would agree with that statement. He's kind of in that Nolan Gorman mode of these guys have got the ability to, from a second base position to hit 30 home runs, and there's not a lot of guys that do that. And the guys that you consider possibly doing that are drafted at the top of drafts, not later in the draft. I mean, what is Brandon Lowe's ADP? Let's look it up over at the NFBC. Their ADP since the start of the month of February. His ADP is 210. So, 18th round pick, 20th round pick, So I think at that range, depending upon how your team is put together, again, it matters if you have speed and batting average in other places. But if you're looking for power up the middle at that point, and a lot of people probably are, depending on their build, Brandon Lowe is not the worst way to go. He went 3 for 3 on Monday. They're paying him $10 million to be their second baseman, and things should improve at Steinbrenner Field. Next up, Corbin Carroll. It's a health issue. We talked about Corbin Carroll on his back the other day. Torey Lovullo, the manager of the Dodgers, says that Carroll is day-to-day. It's basically just back tightness. They didn't find anything concerning, and we can all go, phew. Now, we also talked the other day about the fact that Carroll, he's 5'10", 5'11", 170 pounds. He's not a big guy. And that has caused some people to have concerns about his ability to, drive the baseball. Obviously, he's proven to be a 20 home run hitter. So I think we're not worried about that anymore, right? But here, you tend to think guys 6'3", 220, his back's a little tweaked. Adolis Garcia tweaks his back. 5'10", 170-pound guy tweaks his back. Especially when that guy, Corbin Carroll, runs. I mean, that's such a huge driving force of his fantasy value. He's not stealing 8 bases like Garcia. He's hoping to steal 38 bases, right? So Corbin Carroll is somebody that we'll have to continue to monitor here in the short term, but it sounds like it's just a couple of days. Sounds like it's not a big deal. Great to hear. Carroll obviously has been coming off the board as a first-round draft pick. I have no problem with that. We've talked about him here on the show. Struggled at the start of the season last year, really came on in the second half. There were concerns about his shoulder being jacked up. He said it was a mechanical issue. Power was back in the second half. Tend to believe him it was a mechanical issue. He still scored 120 runs. He actually scored more runs in year 2 than year 1, which is remarkable for some. But he seems like he's just it, right? There's some players that are just it. And despite the concerns about his size, which are legitimate, because again, he's not a big fella. He'd walk right by you on the street. You wouldn't even look at him. His game is huge. So Corbin Carroll going off in the first round, totally fine with that. Good news with his back. Now, this next scenario to talk about is with the Red Sox. And this one is interesting because I've written a bunch of articles, obviously, over at fantasyguru.com. And Players to Target at one point had Vaughn Grissom in it. And I wrote it, and then like the day after I wrote the article was a couple of days before it was posted. Like the day after I wrote the article, Alex Bregman signs at the Red Sox. And it's like, well, crap. So I removed Vaughn from the article because it's like, well, what's his path to starting Vaughn? I mean, hell, he might even end up in the minor leagues to start the year. We still haven't got a clarity on the situation with the Red Sox as to how this infield's going to be. The early returns are, according to the team, that Devers is coming back from the shoulder issue. He's not quite right, so he's DHing. Bregman's playing third base, and we'll see. They haven't said Bregman's going to play second base. They haven't said Bregman's going to play third base. They haven't said that Devers is going to be the DH. They haven't said all this. Remember back when the signing of Bregman occurred, Devers, when asked, hey, man, what do you think? He said, I'm a third baseman. He didn't want to leave third base. We talked about it at the time. Bregman is absolutely a better defensive player than Devers. It would absolutely improve the team's defense if Devers was out there at third base. Bregman was out there at third base. Will Devers agree to that? Remember, Devers making $313 million, whatever it is. Is he going to be happy with that? We still don't know. But what we do know thus far is we're hearing that Devers is not able to play defense on a consistent basis, so they're doing some other things right now. As a result of that, there is now maybe Vaughn Grissom is the second baseman for this team, because maybe they're going to have Bregman at third base. Maybe they're going to have Devers at DH, and maybe that opens up second base for Vaughn Grissom. Vaughn Grissom started at second base 6 times. Bregman hasn't started there once. He's 0 starts at second, if I'm not mistaken. And Christian Campbell, who's also spoken of as somebody who could play second base, he's started 3 times in the outfield, but only once at second base. This is a storyline to watch closely because Vaughn Grissom, as again, he was going to be in the article of a guy that no one's talking about, and he's cheap, and let's go for it. Vaughn Grissom, I could see a full season of Vaughn Grissom. 275, 14 home runs, 18 steals. Very much production-wise, very much in line with what Ceddanne Rafaela did last season. I think they're different hitters, and I think that Grissom's got a much better chance at a higher batting average. He doesn't have that inability to take a pitch that Rafaela has. That's an intriguing player, Vaughn Grissom. Now, again, Vaughn Grissom may not even make the big league club. He might be starting out in the minor leagues. We don't know. They could pivot here, and Christian Campbell could be the second baseman. They could pivot here and put Alex Bregman at second base. We don't know what the Red Sox are doing, but that's a storyline to keep a close eye on. 10 and 12 team leaguers are not drafting Vaughn. 15 team league right now. We'll see if he gets drafted tonight in that Tout Wars draft. Again, that's at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. I don't think he'll get drafted. I'd be surprised if he got drafted, but you never know. He might be someone that comes off the board in the 29th round. Speaking of not getting drafted, there is a starting shortstop on opening day who I don't think won't be drafted in a single mixed league unless someone hits the wrong button. And I don't think he's even, I guess he'll get drafted and added in an only leagues because you kind of gotta. But he's going to be a reserve round play in an only league. And he's a starting shortstop in Major League Baseball on opening day. Who is that? Well, that's the Angels' Kevin Newman. Now, Zach Neto's got the shoulder issue that we've talked about here on the channel, on the show, written about, discussed in Discord, all that kind of stuff. We know that Neto, who was 20-30, had the shoulder injury, surgery. He's coming back from that. We know the team has announced he's basically not going to be ready for opening day. Not a major setback. It's just taken him a little bit longer than hoped. But again, no real concern from the team at this point. But he's not going to be ready for opening day. The assumption, including by me, the assumption by most, I think, was that Tim Anderson would be the starter at shortstop on opening day. Well, according to beat writer Rhett Bollinger of MLB.com, he wrote, quote unquote, Kevin Newman has a leg up on the competition to start at shortstop. I guess Scott Kingery is floating around. Do you remember Scott Kingery? Yeah, the old Philly. Yeah, he's floating around too. But it's starting to seem like Kevin Newman will be the shortstop, and Anderson and Kingery will be backups if Kingery makes a team. And I guess if Anderson makes a team, I'm assuming he will at this point, especially with Nito injured. But it's sounding like Kevin Newman, Mr. Who Gives a Damn, is going to be the starting shortstop for the Angels. So, he hit 278 last year. Who cares? He doesn't really run. He doesn't have any power. He doesn't drive the baseball. He doesn't take walks. Don't be swayed because you get an update. Oh, Kevin Newman's the starting. Who cares? Unless you're in an only league, it doesn't matter. But again, those of you that were hoping to get kind of sneaky with Tim Anderson, looks like you might have to try to get sneaky with Kevin Newman. Now, all those guys' teammate, Luis Rengifo, was scratched with hamstring tightness yesterday. And it's like, oh, no. Here we go. We got an update this morning that Rengifo's situation is a day or so out of the lineup. So this really is a minor injury from everything we're hearing. Now, it's a hamstring. I don't know if a hamstring injury is ever really minor, right? It's kind of like an oblique injury. Is it ever really minor? We'll talk about a significant one in a bit. But it sounds like Rengifo should be back in the lineup in a couple of days. Great news. What's the lineup looking like with the Angels? I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a path to Rengifo batting leadoff. There's a path to Rengifo batting second. There's a path to him batting sixth or seventh. My assumption is he probably hits second. So if it's like Taylor Ward, Rengifo Trout, or Trout, Rengifo, Taylor Ward, like Rengifo's in a money spot, right? We know he's dual position eligible. We know he hit 300 last year. We know he stole bases last year. For those of you that weren't with us at FG or on the show last year, I was a huge fan of Rengifo. Wrote a player profile about him in the preseason saying, hey, man, pay attention to this guy. He went out and exceeded my expectations and was terrific. Now, he had injury and only played half the season and all that. But, he's going to be back in this lineup on a daily basis. Great news that the injury that he's dealing with right now apparently is a very, very minor in nature. We're getting similar vibes and sentiments from the Orioles regarding Gunnar Henderson. Now, Gunnar Henderson hurt his side the other day. Brandon Hyde, the manager, said that Gunnar Henderson, quote unquote, is feeling a lot better. He's feeling the best he's felt since last Thursday when the injury occurred. And he's turned a corner was another phrase that was used. I don't know how you really turn a corner. I mean, let's ask this question. How do you turn a corner in your recovery if you're not really hurt? So, maybe they were a little more concerned than they said with Gunnar Henderson. Maybe Hyde misspoke. Maybe that's a phrase he uses all the time. I don't know. Doesn't really make sense. But the bottom line is Gunnar Henderson appears to be okay. The expectation is by the end of the week, he'll be back in the lineup, potentially midweek. I mean, it might even be a day or two, right? But he's trending back toward returning to the lineup for the Orioles. So those people that have already taken him in the first round have nothing to worry about. Gunnar Henderson, who was dual position eligible a couple of years ago, don't forget he's only shortstop eligible this season, played 157 games at shortstop, was DH a couple of times. He went 30-20 last year and almost went 40-20. And I don't think anyone expects either one of those home runs or RBI totals to increase this year. I think that it would be fair to suggest, 35-15, something like that. If he's going 35-15 and scoring 100 runs and hitting 275, again, he's money. He's a first-round draft pick. I'd love to see his walk rate take just another tick up. It was 9% in 2023. It was 11% last year. If it went up just a bit, not that it needs to, he's fine. But if it went up just a bit, I think that could take him into stardom level. And maybe he's already there. I mean, again, he went 37-20. Maybe I'm stupid to say that. Super stardom level, maybe that's a better way to say it. Now, he's being taken in drafts as a top 10 pick. So in fantasy, people are looking at him and expecting him to be a superstar. So I guess maybe everything I just said is moot. But I will say this. His StatCast data is superb. His pedigree is elite. His performance has been stupendous. Expect the same thing this year from Gunnar Henderson. Now, this is an interesting one. This is another infield position that's, maybe a little bit up in the air. If you look at the Mets, a lot of the Mets, obviously, we spent the offseason talking about the injuries on their pitching staff. What are they going to do with Pete Alonso? Well, they brought back Pete Alonso. They signed Juan Soto. You look at the top three in this order, they're very likely to be Lindor, Soto, and Alonso, which is wow, right? So we've talked a lot about that, and then we've discussed Brandon Nimmo. Is he going to be able to play through his plantar fasciitis? And Mark Vientos looks like a guy that could hit 30 home runs this year. And, Jesse Winker's kind of just a guy, but he got back on the horse last year. His power and speed, 14-14, gets on base. Francisco Alvarez certainly has the look of a guy going deep 20-plus times this year. And then you got Jeff McNeil and Jose Siri likely rounding out the lineup. Now, McNeil at second base. McNeil is a veteran. He's almost 33 years old now. You know exactly what he is. He qualifies in the infield. He qualifies in the outfield. He's not going to hurt you in batting average. Joey hit 238 last year. That is rare for him. You know, he's a career 289 hitter. You look at the numbers last year. His batting average of balls played was 256. That's stupid. That number will rebound. His isolated power mark was actually a 5-year best last season. And his launch angles, exit velocity, barrel rate, everything was the same as normal. So I think it's fair to suggest that, you know, he's likely to hit 270 this year like he has in the recent past. But it's a very boring 270. Gives good at bats, but it's a very boring 270. So here comes Brett Baty, a third baseman who no longer can be third base because the Mets have made the decision that Mark Vientos is a third baseman. They brought back Pete Alonso, so they don't need a first baseman. So Brett Baty is looking like a guy who's going to start the season in the minor leagues again. Remember, at one point in time, Baty was a elite level talent in terms of prospect status. I think that he was a top 25 prospect in baseball, if I'm not mistaken. He was always looked at as, you know, first round draft pick from 2019. He's looked at a guy that was going to step in and do some things. Hasn't done anything. Well, he is playing some second base in spring, which is interesting. And if you look at his spring performance to date, you know, it's early, but he's 7 for 16 with a couple of home runs. Yeah, people starting to take a little bit of notice of that, you know, and so there's always a chance that Brett Baty, whose skill level and pedigree outpaces that of McNeil without question, but he has no experience in totally up and down performance-wise. So on the field, he hasn't done it. Something to think about again, just like Vaughn Grissom. Keep an eye on that situation. It's possible Brett Baty's the second baseman for this team, and that would be something interesting. On the pitching side, I think we got some big names before we visit with Armando Marsal to talk a little football. Max Fried was charged with a couple of runs yesterday in his spring debut for the Yankees. Don't forget he signed like a $218 million contract with the Yankees. But he was in the mid-90s with his fastball. He almost hit 97 on the gun. His curveball was great. He had a 35 CSW on his 49 pitches. I only bring up Max Fried because I see him as I don't think I've gotten a single question about Max Fried this whole offseason. Maybe people are just confident in what he is. Maybe people are just not in because he's going to be pitching at Yankee Stadium. Maybe they're worried about his health. A variety of factors, which are all understandable pieces. But the fact is, Max Fried, I love Max Fried. If Max Fried was my SP2 in a mixed league, I'm fine with that. And I guess that's what everyone's kind of thinking at this point. It's just interesting because everyone kind of in that zone has questions and comments. And what do you think? Do I push this guy up draft boards and all that? Max Fried doesn't get that. Max Fried's ADP, according to NFBC, and this includes starting and relievers, all pitchers. His ADP is 36. With an ADP overall, 36 at pitcher, an ADP of 104. And you look who's right next to him: Tyler Glasnow, Luis Castillo, Hunter Green, Logan Webb, Tanner Bybee, Joe Ryan, Hunter Brown. It's a really good zone to be grabbing pitchers. And if Fried is one of the guys you grab, I think you're in a great spot. Health is a little bit there. Can't ignore it. But he's a damn good pitcher. And I don't think the move from Atlanta to New York spells doom for him. I think he's really, really good. Corbin Burns threw 2 1/3 innings against the Cubs. And the big storyline is that he threw his cutter on 26 of 47 pitches. And you will see this with veteran players in spring a lot of times. They will work on something. Corbin Burns got paid $1 gazillion. He's in the rotation. He's their lead pitcher. If he gives up 7 runs yesterday, who cares? Doesn't matter at all. So he went out there and he threw his cutter on over half his pitches. Cutter. Interestingly enough, he has lost strikeout rate significantly over the last couple of years. And last season, it went in the toilet. At the end of the season, though, he made a change mechanically on his cutter, and that pitch started to impress again. And right down the stretch, a couple of outings, the strikeout rate looked really good. Well, here we're in spring. The cutter's looking really good again. That's the huge key for Corbin Burns. He will eat innings and be effective. If the cutter is back to where it was previously, not that there's any discount with Burns. What's Burns? Is he 6th or 7th at the position? He's 7th at the pitcher spot according to ADP. There's no discount being given here. But if he is able to return 5% to his strikeout rate, to get it back to where it used to be versus the basic league average number last year, now we can look at him and not say 190 innings is 180 strikeouts. We'd say 190 innings is 210 strikeouts, which in the grand scheme, it's 30 strikeouts. 30 strikeouts. Go check your standings last year. 30 strikeouts definitely would have changed where you finished in the strikeout column, right? Unless you were first. So things are really trending upward for Corbin Burns. People starting to get a little bit more excited about him than they were, let's say, a couple of months ago. Kodai Senga is another guy we're getting a little bit more excited about. Pair of shutout innings on Monday. He threw 20 or 31 pitches for strikes. He obviously had a disastrous season last year after a very good first season with the Mets. The concern with Senga is that, we were told many times last year he would return. He didn't. He had a couple of physical situations he dealt with. It was the shoulder for the most part. He looks good. 96 miles an hour on his heater. So he looked good yesterday. We'll continue to follow him in spring, but he will continue to inch his way upward in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com because every outing he makes where he looks better and we start to feel a little bit more comfortable with where he's at physically, the more excited we get about prognosticating out his performance, obviously. Jakob deGrom is going to start the season at the back end of the rotation. Doesn't mean anything. They're concerned about physically with him right now. Doesn't mean that they think he's not one of their best pitchers in Texas. But they're just going to give him a little bit more time to ramp things up. Now, I will ask you the following question. I know you know my position on Jakob deGrom. I know all your positions on Jakob deGrom. If Jakob deGrom is going to throw 170 innings this year, if Jakob deGrom is going to be the ace that he's being drafted to be, why do the Rangers need to push him back 3 days? What does that do? He needs 3 or 4 extra days at the start of the season. Why? It's just a weird. I mean, again, you say, oh yeah, they're just going to give him a little extra time to get ready. It's 3 or 4 days. So again, Jakob deGrom, his ADP is insane in my opinion. deGrom's ADP is just outside the top 50 overall at the NFBC. Everyone I talked to people with labor over the weekend. I was doing interviews on SiriusXM, hosting shows there for their AL and NL only auctions. And I heard, as I've always heard with deGrom, if he stays healthy, cool. Is he going to stay healthy? I'm not taking the chance at that price point. If you got a keeper, I saw someone had a keeper question. He was like 16th round or 18th round. Hell yeah, we're doing that. But I'm not doing it at the current cost. Hell no. Luis Gil's been diagnosed with a high-grade lat strain. He's going to open the season on the injury list. He is being shut down for 6 weeks. If he is shut down for 6 weeks, that means he's back to 0. So he's shut down for 6 weeks. If everything goes well, it probably takes another 4 to 6 weeks to get back to where he was before the injury. Ramping up throwing, pitches, and all that. So I think a best-case scenario is 3 months. That's a best-case scenario. So there is a possibility that Luis Gil won't even pitch in the first half of the season. I mean, that's a possibility. My expectation right now is, again, 3 months. Now, again, this can change at any moment. We don't have definitiveness. We're here. We'll get all these updates. He's feeling good. He's not feeling good. So the bottom line is that the AL Rookie of the Year is not going to live up to expectations in 2025. If you already had your draft and you took him, it's a tough blow. If you haven't drafted yet, he precipitously drops down the rankings over at fantasyguru.com. We dropped him 50 spots. Where did we end up? 50 spots with him yesterday. I don't know, something like that. He's somebody that I would only draft if I had a tolerance for uncertainty, because while I'm saying, oh, he's going to miss 3 months, that's a guess. It could be longer than that. I guess it could be shorter than that in theory. Probably not. Likely to be longer, if anything. So be cautious with Luis Gil. Obviously, Marcus Stroman, who we talked about on this show, just shut up and pitch, kid. Looks like he's going to get an opportunity to be part of the starting rotation of the Yankees. Finally, 2 bullpen stories before we talk to Armando Marsal. Jason Foley struggled again. 3 runs allowed in his went-out effort yesterday. The velocity we're down a little bit from last year, so maybe he's still working into things, but we're continuing to monitor what the Tigers are doing in the 9th inning. I don't know if they know what they're doing yet in the 9th inning. And then finally, we know what the Orioles want to do in the 9th inning, and that is they want to give the ball to Felix Bautista, the Mountain. He was throwing 96 and 97 yesterday in his first game. The plan is to get him out there about 6 times this spring, 6 or 7 times, I think. He was throwing 96 or 97, which is down from the 99 or 100 he used to be at. He emerged from the outing and said, I feel good. He emerged from the outing and said, the velocity, no big deal. I'm totally fine with everything that's going on here and all that kind of stuff. So looks like Felix Bautista is going to be good to go by opening day, and we'll see. People are not giving any discount to him. They're not. They're basically drafting him. Let's see, what is his ADP? He's coming off the board like inside the top 10 relievers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, his ADP is 94 overall. So folks are really saying, yeah, we believe he's going to be ready for opening day, and they're spending draft picks accordingly for a guy that could be one of the best relievers in baseball. Okay, so there's the talk about baseball. Let's talk about some football. It's a big day today, the league and free agency and all this kind of stuff. And we always visit on Tuesdays with Armando Marsal. He also comes back on Wednesdays with Justin Fensterman. They talk more basketball because Armando does football and basketball for us over at fantasyguru.com. So we're bringing him in today, and we're going to talk some football. Welcome to the show today, Armando. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Ray. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Thanks for joining us today. It's I guess every day in football. I'm amazed by the football talk year round. I've said this many times, and there's nothing happens, but everyone gets the hype, and the hype now is free agency. It's coming, and woo. And unlike baseball, where these guys take 3 months to sign, they usually do sign pretty quickly in football. So I'll give them that. Before we get to the player movements and everything like that, we had the combine. We've talked about it previously. I don't find much value in it. A lot of people, I think, agree. Anything from the combine itself, Armando, that jumped off the page at you, good or bad, with any of these guys?
No, not. Look, so I don't watch it much. I kind of catch the highlights, or I'll catch pieces of it, and I do read after, and kind of look at the stuff, scores and things. So everything I saw some clips of Jackson Dart. He obviously, I think his stock is going to rise now. I think that based on how well he performed there, he threw the ball really well. The deep ball is something that if you go back, what I did was I looked at kind of some of his college film after seeing this combine, and what he did there, and he did throw the deep ball pretty accurately during games as well. So look, I think this is going to boost his stock. And then the one guy I was going to say, like, you're going to see I think you're going to see the fantasy community get all excited about Dante Thornton Jr., like his 4.3 40. I think everyone's going to be talking about that. That's going to boost his fantasy stock and stuff like that. I think that's going to boost his stock for the draft as well. But again, we talked about this the last time you and I spoke about, these are just numbers. What you do there and what you do on the field are two different things. I think these are just, extra things to look at, really.
Armando Marsal of fantasyguru.com. Again, he joins us every Tuesday to talk some football here on the show. We had a big trade.
Yes.
Wasn't a big trade given what the Niners got back, but it was a big trade in terms of the NFL and what the Commanders added. Deebo Samuel, a favorite of mine as a Bay Area guy, a tremendous football player, just a tremendous football player. Now, is he in the lineup enough? Is the injuries, all that kind of stuff. But his ability to, play running back, to play wide receiver, to run people over, like he's just a tremendous football player. Time wore out in San Francisco, so they decided to move on. What did they get? Like a 5th round pick? Like, that's. Now there's a big contract involved, so that was part of it too. But I think at the end of the day, we got Samuel going to the Commanders, which is an excellent addition for Jaden Daniels. It helps the offense out tremendously. Talk us through Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin and what your expectations are, because I've already seen questions about people in the Discord asking, what do we do with these guys in the Dynasty League?
Yeah, I mean, I love this for Washington. I think this was a very smart get. You're getting him at a very cheap cost. It cost him a 5th rounder. I think it's $15 million a year is what he's on contract for, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere in that range. That's not really expensive, really, when you look at today's market. What he brings to the table, I think he's going to be able to do a lot of underneath stuff, right? That's going to help Terry McLaurin with the deep passes, the deep routes and whatnot. And then I also think the dimension of him running the football, right? Like that's something that we don't really talk about enough, how much he can run the football, how much he was involved as a runner in San Francisco. I think you're going to see him utilized very similar. Does he come with injury risk? Absolutely. Is there a chance that he doesn't play a full season? Sure. I mean, yeah. Is there a chance he plays 10 to 11 games? Sure. But he's going to be very efficient and very effective in those games. And when you have a young quarterback like Jaden Daniels and you look at this supporting cast here, I think this is a big win for Washington. I think when he's healthy, he's going to make a tremendous impact here. I think he's going to be someone that is going to be utilized in so many different ways in this offense. And I think just gives them another dynamic, another dimension to this offense that I thought was already pretty explosive. So I'm excited for Washington. I think that this is a really good for McLaurin. I think this is good for Daniels. I think the move is going to be good for Samuel. Sometimes you just need a fresh start somewhere else when things aren't going well where you're at. So I think that's good for him here. As for the 49ers, I think there's a lot of big question marks, right? McCaffrey is obviously aging, injury-plagued season, had some of that was already a concern when it comes to injuries. Brandon Aiyuk coming from an ACL and MCL tear. I think he suffered that in October, right? If I'm not mistaken. So you got Pearsall, Jennings, Short, Kittle is another year older. I'm concerned about this, for San Francisco. But again, Samuel was another one that they're just, they're getting him off the books. They're getting him off, basically the injuries and stuff like that. So I think that those two were done with each other at this point.
Hal's got an interesting question that's come up already, obviously. And Hal says, is Eckler on the outs with Deebo there? Now, obviously, Eckler's a running back and Deebo's a wide receiver, but we just been talking about the fact that Deebo can go to the backfield, he can catch passes underneath, all that kind of stuff. We have Eckler who turns 30 in May. I think they can save like $3.5 million if they let him go, the Commanders. So that's might be factors in here. There is a bit of redundancy built in here, a little bit. But again, Eckler last season had positive moments. He is what he is. He's a pass catcher out of the backfield, right? He's not a running back really anymore, which is fine. You think he's on the outs? Think they're going to let Eckler go? You think they're going to keep him around? What do you think?
I think they could still keep him around. Like this again, it's another weapon for a young quarterback. It's a veteran running back. Like you mentioned, he's up there in age, but yes, he's a veteran running back. I think in this locker room, it makes sense. He's a good locker room guy from everything I've read everywhere he goes. So if he's making a positive impact, another security blanket out of the backfield, we know that Deebo Samuel has injury risk, and I think Washington is fully aware of what kind of risk they're taking with his health. So because of that, I think that they can, afford to keep Eckler. It doesn't mean that they will, but I think they can afford to keep Eckler here.
Yeah, and remember too with Eckler, lots of head injuries, so that's something to think about too. His availability on the field. You mentioned the Niners. Let's go back directly to it for a second before we move on, Armando. Diana Rossini of The Athletic said that there have been reports that teams have expressed interest in trading for Brandon Aiyuk. Okay.
It's every year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. We spent 3 months last year talking about this. Like, I saw that report and I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, why would the Niners trade him? They're not going to get full value because he's coming back from the knee injury that you mentioned. If they were to trade him, it's Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and Jacob Cowing. Like, I get that they might be looking to change things up and get a little bit younger and all that kind of stuff. But they gave Aiyuk $7,000 trillion last year. Would they really trade him now?
It doesn't make sense to me, if we're being honest, especially after trading Deebo. Like now it's like, okay, we need that guy. But again, now if they do this, Ray, you're from the area. If they do this, are they giving up? Like, are they saying, all right, we're going to take a couple years off of being a contending team, and then we're going to go ahead and start, contending? I think that would be the mentality if they get rid of Aiyuk. I really do.
But they're bringing back Trent Williams, right? He's at the end of his career. You mentioned Christian McCaffrey. He's at the end of his career, it looks like. Brock Purdy, they're just about ready to pay Brock Purdy $40 million a year. Like now you're going to pay all these guys and now you're going to give up. Like it just doesn't, the fit
Correct.
Doesn't seem right to me. So yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Okay. So that report, both of us agree that seems very strange.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like if they're preparing themselves for one last run, it looks like, right?
That's what it seems like.
At least that's what it seems like based on who they're signing, who they're bringing back. So with that, I think it just doesn't make any sense unless they have a plan, right? Like unless they have a plan of trading him and maybe going after another receiver, name that we're not even thinking about right now, maybe something like that. But I would be surprised.
Marsal of FantasyGuru.com. We know every year that Jonathan Gannon and how they're not tanking for Archie Manning. They've already got Brock Purdy. Not going to happen. We every year we come in and we talk about James Conner. And we say James Conner's really good, but he's always hurt. And you look at the end of the season and he always misses some time, but he's actually more stable than you think. And he's still very effective. And he's been the only running back for a couple of years now with the Cardinals worth anything. There have been moments when he's out for a week or two, but when he's on the field, no one else matters. They drafted Trey Benson last year. Trey Benson kind of season, right? Didn't do anything, largely because Connor stayed healthy. Well, now we hear Jonathan Gannon, the head coach, saying that, look, if he takes a step this offseason, Benson, we got 2 starting running backs. And here goes. Now the concern starts, right? Because now James Conner, who's scoring 10 touchdowns and catching 50 passes, well, maybe it's 8 touchdowns and 40 catches. He's getting older. I mean, this is a natural thing, and coaches say a lot of stuff, right, that doesn't always play out. At this point, and it's March, so we got a long way to go. But at this point, how do you see the backfield playing out with the Cardinals?
I think so long as James Conner is good to go and healthy, he's going to be their primary back. Can it become some type of committee at some point in the season? Sure. But I don't think you're going to see it that early in the season, right? I think it maybe be mid-season, or if James Conner gets, dinged up and they kind of want to reduce his touches, his opportunities, sure. But if they're both healthy entering the season, I view this as James Conner being the lead back here. He's been very efficient, very, very good for this team, really. And for the most part, like you said, he has missed some time, but he's stayed relatively healthy for the most part with Arizona. So, I still view Benson as a strong handcuff right now. Like, that's just the way I'm viewing him, as a strong handcuff. I think if you're drafting James Conner, I do think you should be investing in Trey Benson. We talk about this all the time at fantasyguru.com. I see it being a committee maybe at some point, but early on in the season, I expect James Conner to be their guy. And until I see otherwise, that's just the way I'm going to view this backfield.
Marsal at fantasyguru.com. Another backfield scenario that I don't know what the Jets are doing. I don't know if the Jets really know what they're doing. There are all these changes, right? Looks like they're going to move on from Adams. They've moved on from Rodgers. They got a new coach. Things are changing here. We're hearing, according to The Athletic, that it's unlikely the Jets will look to extend Breece Hall. Again, running backs, they don't get paid what they deserve. We know that. We understand the deal. Okay, like that. That's kind of strange. I don't know. Again, maybe Breece Hall doesn't want to be there. Who knows all the stuff behind the scenes with everything that's gone on there. But I saw that report and I thought to myself, if there's a guy you want to extend, isn't it Breece Hall? He's been very effective. He's young. I think he's got some huge workhorse seasons in him. They haven't really utilized him that way. It seems like now would be the time to sign him versus waiting for him to go for 1,600 yards and 12 touchdowns in the coming season. But that's the report we got.
I think they should extend them now. If they don't, this means you're looking at he's going to be playing for a massive contract.
Yeah.
So, and they don't have any ties to him after that. So they're going to give him the ball all he can handle. It's going to be a win-win situation for Breece Hall, like in the sense of he's going to get all the opportunities to really get that contract. And I think he's talented enough where if he does get those opportunities, he can work himself into a very big and lucrative contract. I think he's a very dynamic running back. I think he's a dual threat. I think he's an every down running back. And the fact that the Jets aren't acknowledging it or aren't even entertaining the, extending him, I just think it just goes to show what kind of franchise they're. Some franchises just do not operate well. They've been one of them. They have pretty lengthy history of some, mistakes and things like that, and just not making good decisions. So here's one of those decisions that you're looking at is like, why not? He's such a good running back. So I would extend him if I were the Jets. But then again, I don't work for the Jets, so I can't help them. I can't help them, Ray.
Yeah, Hal says teams not wanting to sign guys seems like a negotiating tactic, and I'm not going to disagree because I'm sure. But why does that matter? To me, the media plays a role here. We know how that goes. The fans play a role. We know how that goes. But if you're in that locker room or you're in that front office and you don't know if you want a guy there or not, what are you doing there? You've had Breece Hall there for years. You know if you want Breece Hall around for the next 4 years. You know. And if you're not, why? And this idea of, stories coming out, Armando, these stories can come from agents. They can come from front office people. There's the unnamed sources. Who the hell is the ball boy? He heard something in the locker. It's all these things. So I'm not going to disagree with now. Someone from the circle, released information. Right.
Yeah.
And when he says it could be a negotiating tactic, it should be. But in the case of the Jets, I think it's different. Like you're saying, Armando, we have seen multiple reports about the owner of this team, in making decisions with his family based upon Madden ratings. Apparently that happened. That's insane. Yes. That's insane for an NFL team. You wouldn't do that. You and I wouldn't do that with the local high school team. They did it in the NFL. Maybe Breece Hall just wants to get the hell out of there. We'll see how that plays out.
Well, Gary Wilson wanted out before Aaron Rodgers left. I don't know if you read that.
Yeah, and now they're talking about paying him right, to keep him around. He said, I'd be interested if you guys pay me a lot of money. And then we're like, Tyrod Taylor's going to be the quarterback. It's like, ooh, you better pay him, right? Like that's great. So I don't know what that organization's doing. You're right there. Another player who seems kind of pivotal as we move toward more of, the free agency piece of the discussion today is Sam Darnold. There were reports that Sam Darnold would be signed to a franchise tender or something like that. Then the Vikings will look to trade him. Sounds like that's not going to happen. So he's about ready to become a free agent. There are still rumors that the Vikings would like to have him back. Who knows what that would look like? The Giants tried to get Matthew Stafford. They didn't. They need a quarterback. The Raiders have basically said our quarterback's not on the roster right now. They need a quarterback. Your guesstimate on where Sam Darnold ends up, and I'll even put you more on the spot. How much money is he going to get paid?
I think he's going to get Baker Mayfield-like money. I think that's going to be his market. As far as where he lands, there's a lot of ties to the Raiders and the Giants. I think Tennessee is another team that's going to be in the mix here. I think we can all agree that the Will Levis experiment is behind us, right? I think so. I think that based on their moves, yeah. So I think they're another team that's in the mix. The Steelers are another team that I've read, kind of their name pop up every now and then.
Yeah.
I know that they've talked about bringing back Justin Fields over Russell Wilson. I've seen those reports as well. But again, this is a team that if see what Sam Darnold did in Minnesota last year with the defense that Pittsburgh has and the supporting cast, the offense. I think you're putting him in a position where he doesn't have to do as much, right? Like he doesn't have to really do as much. So very similar. As far as defense that Minnesota had. So I think it's a good fit for him. So you're going to see a lot of teams, and there's always going to be that, one team that comes out of nowhere that you weren't expecting. I know there's, Cleveland is a team that's looking for a quarterback. I don't think that's an ideal fit for him. But yeah, I think it's really going to be the Raiders, Giants, and then I'm not going to rule out the Steelers. I really hope the Steelers go for Fields, but again, if Sam Darnold, if they think he's better than Fields, a better option than Fields, they might approach him and see what they can get.
Marsal, fantasyguru.com. Staying with the Vikings for a second, that seemingly former team of Darnold, if things go as we expect. Aaron Jones is somebody they're looking to bring back, and at his age and stage of his career, he obviously wants to win and get paid. Well, they're going to win. They're going to be successful. So there's that point. The question is, the contract. So I don't know if he returns to the Vikings or not, but we've heard a report out of Athletic as well that suggested that the Vikings want to go committee approach anyway at the running back spot. Even if they bring back Jones, they'd want to go more of a committee. Now, Jones is not young. He's 30. I get it. I think he had his highest carry total last season. Still a very effective player. He had 300 touches last year. It was very effective. This is more of a decision by the team. And I hear committee approach. And again, it's not Earl Campbell time, right? It's just not that way anymore. Guys don't get 26 carries a week. There's only a handful of guys that even get 20. So hearing approach of a committee, okay. But it's just so messy, right? So now we're talking about the Vikings potentially having a rookie quarterback. I know he'd be his second season, but potentially a rookie quarterback in McCarthy and having a committee backfield. I don't know. Is that ideal? If you were running a team, Armando, would you try to get that one guy or would you go with the committee?
I think it's okay to go with a committee, especially if you have a couple of players that, are good and efficient out of the backfield. And I think that's the case in Minnesota when you look at their backfield. So, yeah, I mean, look, he averaged 18.6 opportunities per game. This is Aaron Jones. If he gets cut down to 14, 15, that might be the committee they're talking about. I still think he's going to get a significant, decent amount of opportunities, assuming he stays there. So this is the thing when these players say, I want to get paid and I want to win. It's usually not going to be both. It's going to have to be one or the other. Right? So what do you really want at this stage of your career? I think so. If he really wants to win, I think you're right. I think Minnesota makes a lot of sense. They're a team that, was very competitive last year, very good team. I think they're going to continue to be a good team. They're well coached, a good defense, everything there. They have a lot of pieces to win right now. So I think that would make a lot of sense. He knows this system. He knows this team already, obviously. So I think it would make sense to stay there. If he wants to get paid, this is probably not going to be the place he gets paid, right? So it really depends on what he truly wants. I don't buy I want both, and I'm going to look for both. It usually doesn't happen that way.
Armando, let's talk about the Raiders a little bit more. There's a couple of other storylines to ask you about there. We talked about Darnold and potentially going there, and the Raiders trying to figure out that quarterback spot. We're hearing reports that they want to get a number one wide receiver. Well, everyone wants to get a number one wide receiver. They want to get a number one to pair him with Jakobi Meyers, which makes all the sense in the world, of course. What's their option here? T. Higgins is getting the tender. Sounds like Chris Godwin's going to return. Like, are they hoping Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers? Is that what we're hearing? Is that reuniting with Devontae Adams? Like, we'd love to get, who's the one that they want to get?
They'd get their quarterback, right? If they do that, or somewhat of a, they'd get a quarterback, not their quarterback. They'd get a quarterback if they went with Adams and Rodgers. Believe it or not, I think that might be the route that they go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying 100%, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they end up. But again, it's just depending. Like, the market is not great for wide receivers. Maybe they draft one. Maybe that's what they're, maybe they're looking to trade. But are they in a position? I know they're trying to move Michael Mayer there. Are they really in a position to trade for a wide receiver right now? Like, I don't know. I don't know if they are. And if so, what kind of team is willing to give, away a receiver right now? Like, who's rebuilding, who's in that kind of situation?
Right.
So yeah, I maybe Cooper Kupp, maybe like something like that.
Maybe,
I don't know. I truly don't know. I don't know if they're going to get one in free agency. They might be looking to draft one, but I agree. I don't think Meyers is a wide receiver one. I do think he's more of a wide receiver too, very efficient, very good, solid wide receiver too, but not a wide receiver one.
Yeah, you look at the list. It's like, Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins and Keenan Allen, maybe Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
he's a big name guy that we haven't mentioned, but they're Mari Cooper.
But these are all guys that, like,
at
ones. This stage, they're not ones. I don't think they're ones at this stage of their career.
Yeah,
like, you're looking at another Jakobi Meyers. You're two Jakobi Meyers, essentially, with most of these guys.
You mentioned, by the way, Michael Mayer, and the Raiders. Well, they basically fell into Brock Bowers. They wanted to do something different, and the draft played out in a way they didn't expect. And they're sitting there, and Brock Bowers there, and like, well, we got to take Brock Bowers. Historically great. It turned out year before they drafted Michael Mayer to be their tight end, right? And he's not just a blocker; he was supposed to catch passes. So now we're hearing that they're looking to trade him, and apparently there's some interest here. Michael Mayer, like, is he one of these guys that could be catching 4 passes a week for somebody if he gets dealt? Like, is he good enough as a pass catcher that, depending upon everything, he might end up being somebody that we're talking about starting in 2025?
I think he has the tools and the talent to be that. It just depends on where he lands and if he's capable of, learning the system. It's, tight end, they have to do blocking. They have to obviously, go out and catch passes as well. So, like, they're doing multiple things here. So for me, I think he does have the skill set, the tools, and the talent to be a player that catches 4 to 6 balls a week. It's just a matter of, is the offense he lands on, if he does get traded, does the tight end position have that kind of role in that offense, because it really is system based. So for me, I think it really depends on where he lands, but I do think he does have the skill set to do so.
Armando Marsal of FantasyGuru.com joining us here talking some football. He'll be on the show tomorrow with Justin Fensterman about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. They'll talk some hoops. As you can see there on the screen when I get it up. There. Let's see. There it is. There it's on the screen.
Yeah.
You get the MVP plan if you want. The MVP plan basically is everything we offer at FantasyGuru.com besides football and baseball. So you click that subscribe tab. You go to the MVP tab there. You get basketball, hockey, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, UFL. UFL in that? No, UFL. Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So you get everything basically besides the NFL and Major League Baseball. So check that out. The MVP plan, you can always send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. As we also do here on the show when you're available with us on a Tuesday, Armando, sometimes you go to the local store and you pick up a pack of cards. Sounds like you got a card pack to share with us today if I could learn how to speak. What do you I'm so excited. What do you got that we're opening today?
We're going old school. Ray, Amazon is cool. They have a box of 100 of these packs for a very affordable price. So, Amazon.
No, what year is the tops?
Oh, this is 1992.
1992. I didn't recognize. Okay, 92.
Yeah, 1992. So it says tops match the stats game. Win a $1,000 card show buying spree. So this is 1992. We don't get that. That. And then it does have the Topps Gold Series cards. So this has some Topps Gold.
Are you saying that you bought 100 of these?
The box comes in 100 packs. Yeah.
You bought 100 of them. Wow.
Yeah, you get a box.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I hand them out to I also hand them out to the boys, the team, the baseball team. And stuff like that.
How many packs do you have left from this box?
Oh, I just ordered one yesterday. There's still a bunch of packs there, but I just ordered one yesterday.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it should get here today or tomorrow. Yeah, this was cool. So I had these out to the kids as well. Yeah, because I've been going to the local Target by my house. They haven't gotten any new packs, so I just said, you know what, these are fun to open as well. So all right. So I'm not sure if we should go. So what? This way.
I'm trying to find a way to make you bigger, but I guess you're only gonna be my size. I can't.
Let me see here. Let me see if I turn this light on. It's more helpful.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So do we start from this side or do we start from this side?
Oh, go with number 2. Go with that.
All right. This one?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start here. Okay. We got Tim Wallach.
Tim Wallach had a couple of really huge seasons. One of my brother's favorite players, actually, because he loved the Expos hat.
Yeah, that was such a cool hat, the Montreal Expos hat, right?
Yeah.
Moises Alou played with them there. I remember that.
I've got a Vladimir Guerrero jersey in the closet from Montreal.
Okay. Okay. All right. Here we go. Jose Guzman.
Did he have his hair there? No, the hair's short there. There were moments where he had longer hair. He had a couple of nice moments, but I think he probably failed to live up to expectations a little bit. But a big arm.
Well, I've seen one of I used to love this player right here.
Okay.
Oh, we got some good ones here.
Oh, nice.
David Justice. I used to love David Justice, man.
You ever watch Moneyball?
Really hard, huh?
You ever watch that Moneyball movie with Brad Pitt?
I've seen pieces. Ironically, I haven't seen I haven't caught the entire thing. I've seen bits and pieces. I've seen it entirely, but not all at once.
Okay, yeah. David Justice is a big player in that because you know he's broken down and can't run, and then he was pretty good. I think he might have even been married to Halle Berry at that time. He was at one point. Yeah, he was at one point. So
yeah, he played for the Braves, and then he also played for the Indians, right? Did he? Or no?
Yeah,
it was just the Braves.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, here we go. Another one. Roger Clemens. Whoa, young Roger Clemens. Look at that.
Look at that.
That's young.
I think his first year 86.
I see 84 here.
84 was even earlier. Okay, so yeah, he's
84.
You're just getting ready to start racking up some Cy Youngs.
Yeah. Dude, that was young. Wow, look at that. John Cerruti. I don't know if I said that right.
John Cerruti. I don't know. Remember him?
Look
at that motion. He looks like a lefty that just threw junk. Right?
that glove arm looks very loose there. It's closer to the arm. Should be a little closer to the arm, man.
He's distracting them with his arm.
My son does the same thing sometimes. I tell him, you gotta control that arm, man.
Well, yeah, he's probably doing it to lend deception because he threw 83 miles an hour. But yeah, you ideally want it closer to your body, correct?
Yeah, the mechanics look a little off there, I remember him, Kevin Brown. He pitched for the Marlins, I think, towards the end.
He did for the Marlins, yeah. Kevin Brown was nasty.
Yeah.
When he was on, there was 10 strikeouts and a 3-hitter coming at you. He was didn't make the Hall of Fame, but really good.
Hard, right? Like he threw really hard. Yeah.
He would have. I mean, throughout his career, he's probably one of the top 10, if not top 5, toughest at bats. You didn't want to go against Kevin Brown when he was rolling.
Yeah, I remember him when he played here. Danny Jackson, I'm not sure who he is.
Danny Jackson, yeah, he pitched for his fame was for the Reds. But yeah, another solid major league. There's a lot of guys that kind of, you last 10 years in the big leagues, it's like, but lasted 10 years. That's that's pretty impressive, right?
Huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I don't know. Let's pull up Danny Jackson. Did he make 10 years? I'm gonna say he did.
Yeah. So 83.
14.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he started 83, and this is 92, and then
he went all the way to 97.
Yeah, there you go.
15 years. Yeah, so 2,000 innings, won 112 games. Pretty good career. Yeah.
Listen, that's not bad.
23-8 in 1988. 23-8 with a 2.70 ERA, and he threw 260 innings.
Was he in the Cubs then?
That was on the Reds. That was his first year with the Reds.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I see here. I see it. 23. 15 closed games, 2.73. Yeah, it has it right here. 35 games.
35 games.
260.2 innings pitched. Wow.
15 complete games. Now, if you have 2, you lead the league. He had 15.
161 strikeouts.
Not a big strikeout guy.
Yeah.
That's how the game was back then.
Mo Vaughn.
Mo Vaughn. Yes, Mo Vaughn.
Yeah.
You remember Mo Vaughn with the little weird little thing he did before that fell out of it? He had some huge seasons for the Mets too. He was a hell of a hitter. I was always amazed by his ability to get to the inside fastball because he hovered over the plate and he's such a big dude. You never thought he's really quick and short to the ball though.
Yeah, he just kept the barrel. He kept the back close to the body.
Yep. Little Barry Bonds style.
Yeah, exactly. Fast swing. Steve Sachs. Oh, sorry.
You remember Steve Sachs? Came up, was great rookie of the year, and then got the yips. Couldn't throw the ball to first base. You remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he won the rookie of the year and had his great start to his career and everything, and then he just couldn't throw to first base. Just like oftentimes catchers have that problem throwing the ball to the pitcher, he just got in his head and errors, and his career kind of spiraled out of control. He had a great start to his career, but yeah, his defense was a little spotty.
It's incredible how much of baseball is mental, huh? I talk about this to my kids all the time before they're oh, look, we got a little scratch off. Oh, I don't know what this is. Is
that one of the ones you could win with?
Yeah. I mean, this expired. It's probably expired.
Well, we talked about it. Topps isn't even officially a company anymore, is it?
Look at this. You get collect 100 runs and receive 10 1992 Topps Gold cards for the special price of $1.25 and 75 cents plus 75 cents of postage and $2 shipping and handling.
What a deal.
The good old days, Ray. The good old days, Ray.
Now it's $47. Is Topps owned? I misspoke, but it's still a company. Is Topps owned by Fanatics?
I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure. I still think Topps is there.
It's own. Okay.
I think so. I'm almost certain that they are, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. Oh, we got some more cards here, by the way.
Okay.
Real Cormier. Don't know who this is.
Cormier.
All right,
let's get fancy. Yeah, reliever there. Look at him; he's in good shape there. He's got his gloves in the right spot.
See, that's good. There you go. That's good for him.
Yeah.
That's good better. And we got Glenn Davis here from the Orioles.
With the Astros.
With the Orioles.
With the Orioles, yeah, he was. Same with the.
He played with the Astros as well.
Astros, yeah, he won Rookie of the Year too. I think 86 or something, 30 home runs. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, he had 31 home runs in 86.
31. Okay, that's close.
Sharp.
One. Yeah, not bad for an old guy.
Mike Bordick.
I know Mike Bordick because obviously the A's. He was around here. A scrappy middle infielder. Yeah, played for a while, hung around. Nothing, no big great shakes.
It doesn't look like we have Walt Terrell.
Don't remember Walt Terrell.
I don't know who he is.
Another guy with his glove in the right position, but I don't remember Walt.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got Juan Samuel.
Juan Samuel was with the Phillies when his career started. He had 70 steals one year, didn't he? I want to say he had 72 steals.
Stolen base. 72 steals, 84.
See, look at that. I remember that too. Or Armando, that's my jam.
Look at that.
But
he had 19 triples.
I mean, look at that. He stole 72, 53, 42, 35, 33, 42, 38. No one's even knows who this guy is anymore, probably.
Look at 90. He stole 38.
38, yeah. And in 1987, he had 28 home runs and 35 steals. So he was 2 home runs away from 30-30. But yeah, he had a crazy good start to his career. 72 steals as a rookie. That's pretty good.
Yeah. He looks like he has a lot of thread. So
yep.
It says here a little note. Juan came through with a clutch triple in the 9th inning to drive home a home winning run versus the Braves in 1991. There you go.
There you go.
A little nugget there. And then last one, Mike Aldrete.
Aldrete.
Yeah,
and again, I know this guy because he was with the Giants. For those people that play RBI baseball, Mike Aldrete is famous for being on the Giants team with 2 home runs. He wasn't a power hitter by any means. They always kind of hoped he would develop a little bit more than he did. But yeah, he's on RBI baseball. 2 home runs. Yeah, 2 home runs that first year. So that's what it was. But yeah, he had more power than you would think from a 2 home run guy, as video games are wont to do at times. But Yeah, Mike Eldreddy. He played for the A's too. Let's see. He made 11 years. Yeah.
Hey, that is an impressive feature. Like 1 year in the MLB is impressive. Like 1 game in the MLB is impressive.
I think it's 10 years, right? 10 years gets you all the benefits for life.
I believe so.
Yeah, and again, a limited player, but his career on base percentage is 356. It's pretty good.
Hey, yeah. If you're playing in the majors and you're playing games, you're what 1%?
Oh yeah, less than that.
You're the special percentage there. So yeah, that's a cool feat. That was it. We had some fun.
That was good. No, that was good. I was right. I got the top one saying, well, I'm happy. Armando Marsal at fantasyguru.com apparently has 1,000 packs of cards on the way. So
we're gonna be good, right? We're gonna be good to go.
Yeah, we're gonna be good for all season. You're gonna have it with us there. What are you working on here? How's basketball going over at the site?
Good. Basketball's going well. I got the cheat sheet tomorrow. Then I'll be on with Rusty, with Fensty tomorrow there. And then I got the article Thursday, Mind of Marsal podcast later in the week as well. I had a solid Sunday. Almost took down a single entry GPP, but I behind 3 trained. There was 3 guys with the same lines that got right in front of me. So I ended up got 4th, I guess, because there was 3 of them. Yeah. Okay. But it's going. We had some good core 4s last week. Fancy and I, we and some of the team had some really good core 4s. So it's been going well. We still got a lot of screenshots there. So if you're not checking it out, do it already. It's the season almost ending. We're gonna do playoff content as well. So we'll have content in the playoffs and the postseason and stuff like that. And we got the March Madness coming out too. Big content plans for March Madness. The team previews, all of that will start be posted next week. So a lot of things coming here for fantasyguru.com.
Click on that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for the MVP plan for that NBA coverage that Armando's talking about, and the crew, Armando and Justin, substantially. They're a huge part of it. We'll hopefully use a success. As Armando said, he just missed getting it himself, and we're always cheering for you to get those championships yourself. They're in Discord. Often, someone's in Discord every day, right? Helping people set lineups like an hour before game time.
Yeah, there's usually 2 of us actually. Whoever's covering the cheat sheet and whoever's doing the article that day is usually in there. At times, you're going to get 3 of us. Sometimes I'll hop in. Sometimes Serge is in there. Sometimes Fancy's in there, even when he's on articles or cheat sheets. So yeah, there's usually a lot of people in there answering questions an hour before tip off. Even sometimes after tip off, if you tag any of us, we're usually in there, answering those questions.
He's Armando Marsal. I'm Rainy Flowers. Stay tuned for him to join tomorrow on the show. He'll be there with Fensty. They'll be talking basketball. He's with us every Tuesday. Thanks for your time today, Armando. We'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time here on the show with Justin.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. Have a good day, everyone.
He's Armando Marsal. I'm Rainy Flowers. Again, I'll be away tomorrow because I'm with Jeff Manns on the Elite Sports Show, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Tomorrow it's Justin Fensterman and the aforementioned Armando Marsal, talking a lot of hoops with you, helping you set lineups, helping you make decisions, and helping sell you some products. Subscribe tab, top right corner. Get signed up. It's a great series of folks we got helping you out over at fantasyguru.com. For Armando, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.